This week we're going to be talking about Sony buying Bungie for $3.6 billion, Dying Light 2's release, GameStop investing into NFTs, and much more coming up here at the Gamers for Life podcast. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gamers for Life podcast, where each and every Saturday we're discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my co-host, my right-hand man, my ABXY, Arthur. What is shaking, buddy?
A lot. First, can't wait for the Super Bowl.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Rams in the Super Bowl, hometown. Dude, that last game was nuts.
Much congrats. Yeah, that was a great. All those games are crazy, and that game was especially insane as well. Shout out to the whole Rams team, man. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan, but it's got to root for whoever's remaining. And if I were to choose, definitely Rams. Definitely a Cinderella story, and just kind of like an underdog story at the same time, because we talked about Cincinnati, and how it's been like over 30 years or something. Since the last time they've been at the Super Bowl.
No, since the last time they've been in the playoffs.
Well, the Super Bowl I know has been over 30 years.
Yeah,
there's that. But.
Cincinnati hasn't even been to the playoffs in 31 years.
Yeah,
and now they're in the Super Bowl. And the cool thing is I like about this year too. It's like I feel like a lot of people were like rooting for teams out of spite or stuff. Like even as a Rams fan, I'm happy for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, their quarterback's in his second year. That's never been done.
Yeah.
And you gotta love the memes of, like... And here's the thing. Even though their quarterback is in his second season, it's truly his first, because he was injured early into the season last year that knocked him out for the whole season. Yeah. So this is his true first, like, whole season start to finish. And he's in the Super Bowl. And I just love the jokes of he just got like the memes of like, hey, this guy that's in his second year in the NFL has already won more playoff games than Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys in the last 6 years.
Yeah, man. I mean, incredible talent. Stafford, there's a lot of talented quarterbacks. Obviously, Brady's gone. Brady announced his retirement.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, especially on paper right now. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the Super Bowl. I'm kind of there along there with you, man. So before we get started here for the Games for Life podcast, be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Definitely one of the things we looked at is that I would say about 90% or so of our viewers, they're not subscribed. So go ahead and subscribe. There's a lot of cool videos you can check out. And then also be sure to go to linktree.com/gamersforlife. That's where you'll find the link to the Twitch stream that Arthur manages. That's where you'll find the link to our episodes as well. So be sure to go ahead and do that. You can go to all of our links there on that linktree.com/gamersforlife. And here at the Gamers for Life podcast, we read the news while you can watch or listen to what you choose by clicking on the links in the time codes of the episodes, so you can check out different segments of the show if you don't want to watch or listen to the whole thing, but you can do that as well. You're always more than welcome to do that here at the Gamers for Life podcast. And we got some more news here, but starting off, as Arthur mentioned to me and that I wanted to absolutely mention as well, good old Phil Spencer, looks like that he is to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 25th Annual DICE Awards. I think this is the clap one.
Fucking boo.
I know. I'm like, damn, I'm fucking this up.
At the same time, sorry, I'm making faces because, like, I'm having issues with Google my email right now.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Yeah.
I'll keep this rolling here. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article here that you sent over. This is from IGN.com. Written by Matt Kim. Starts off here by saying the Academy of Arts and Sciences has announced that Phil Spencer, CEO of Microsoft Gaming and head of Xbox, will receive the AIAS Lifetime Achievement Award at the 25th Annual DICE Awards. The annual awards will be held on the 24th of February in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Bethesda Studios game director Todd Howard will present Spencer with the award. Oh, that's hilarious.
Hey, new boss. Here's a Lifetime Achievement. You're such a great boss.
This is what it means to win, Todd Howard.
Dude, that's so funny.
That is hilarious.
When was that pick? I mean, I mean, because the Bethesda thing was like a year ago, so I just find that funny. So they had to have picked it.
Hilarious.
They had to have picked it after the Bethesda buyout. So it's like,
oh yeah,
that's just funny.
That's brilliant.
Like this, it's like Todd Howard, as Todd Howard's about to start his speech. Okay, he's my new boss. This man is amazing. He's great.
He saved us.
He's kind, a gentle lover.
And then to continue further here into the article, it says here that Spencer has been in the video game industry for over 30 years. He's joined Microsoft in 1988 as an intern and has been with the company ever since. Spencer began to oversee Xbox starting with the launch of the Xbox One S and has overseen the growth of several key products, including Xbox Series XS and Xbox Game Pass. Under his tenure, the Xbox Game Studios division has grown tremendously as Spencer oversaw key acquisitions including Mojang, ZeniMax Media, and most recently the news that Xbox plans to acquire Blizzard Activision, which they already did, but they're in the obviously the process there. It says here in quote, Phil Spencer has demonstrated both passionate leadership throughout the entire career at Microsoft. He's responsible for countless impactful and pivotal initiatives that have reverberated throughout the entire gaming industry, says the AIAS president, Ben Scavio. On behalf of the Academy's board of directors, we are looking toward to celebrating Spencer's important impact on video game history by presenting him with the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Here.
Previous winners of the AIAS Lifetime Achievement Award include former president of Nintendo, the Miura Iwata, and a few of those, and Howard Lincoln, president creator of Ken Kugaraki. PlayStation creator, Ken Kugaraki, ESA founder Doug Lowenstein, and former EA CCO Bing Gordon, former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, and Nintendo corporate advisor Genyo Takega. And I'll just end there. But again, congratulations.
So it sounds like he's the first guy from Microsoft to do it.
Seems like it. Yeah. He's
like a lot of Sony and Nintendo names, and it's like... Yeah.
He's put the numbers on the boards for sure. So definitely huge freaking kudos to Phil Spencer. I'm a PlayStation guy, but I will always salute to Phil Spencer, just what he did with Xbox and what he continues to do.
Man saved Xbox.
Game changing. And yeah, I know we mentioned this before, but it's still so pivotal to mention. He literally saved Xbox. There was a moment in time, I know we've mentioned it on the show before, but that was a really scary time for Xbox. Yeah, that was a really fucking scary time. And this was going into a new console, rather.
Yeah.
So
this was following the Red Ring of Death. This was following Microsoft trying to be like an entertainment powerhouse with its Microsoft TV, and it's felt like tripling down on what the fuck, why the Kinect. Its focus was clearly going somewhere else. During console time, Sony was killing it with their game. Sony was killing it, whereas Xbox was just kind of like still milking the relationship with Valve, with Portal and all that, Left 4 Dead. And then it's like, oh, hey, now the Kinect. We're still doing it. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So he deserves all of the credit, all the praise. I mean, he's a huge contributor. I'll say that. To the survival of Xbox in general. So moving on here to 2022, talking about. The first thing on the list here, talking about Dying Light 2. And I wanted to talk about this, Arthur, just because this is one of the first big games, I guess of this month, obviously, or around the end of January, early February.
Yeah, new February being the new launch wave.
Yeah, one of the, arguably I would say one of the biggest first games to release this year.
Yeah,
if that's fair to say. Okay. But I just feel like this is such a bad tune to start off with the year. For Dying Light 2 being potentially the first dud of the year. And the reason why I say that is I'm wanting to read off this article, their IGN article, but they did a good job. And I was on Metacritic, I was telling you about that, Arthur, as far as, initially before the second report came out, was that it was getting around 45 reviews. It got a rating of about 7.
Yeah, it was averaging around there.
So I was like, okay. I was like, that's not great, but that's not awful, you know.
Fall in 2021, we've seen worse.
Yes, yeah, we've seen some crazy fucking numbers. But as the day went, literally as the day went on, more and more reports surfaced, and it got to the point where, you know, there's this amalgamation of bugs that literally impede on just the overall gameplay experience. So I wanted to read the bug alert just because I feel like this is very poignant. So it says here on the IGN article, it says in quote, bug alert, if your tolerance for bugs is low, I do not recommend jumping into Dying Light 2 on day 1 or day 10, maybe day 30. I was able to play it to completion, but barely. Leading up to launch is absolutely drowning in a sea of upsetting technical issues, whether it's crashing, which happened to me dozens of times in more than 80 hours with it on Xbox Series X and to others on IGN on PlayStation 5 and PC. All dialogue stopping during cutscenes, all audio being replaced with loud screeching noise, getting logged out of quests because of a character wouldn't let you talk to him, or being unable to finish because the objective never spawned in. Uneven frame rates, masking me seasick, and too many more to list here. Most glitches are temporary annoyances or even amusing wonkiness, but some are more to dire. One IGN editor playing on PS5 said his entire save file corrupted.
Damn.
Leaving him with a never-ending loading screen and locking him out of his save pending an upcoming patch, end quote.
Man, and those aren't like, oh, ragdoll physics bugs. Those are like game breaking, or it's, you know, some of them like the corrupt save file game breaking, and some game hindering bugs, like, you know, like the quest stuff thing. Like, again, these aren't like, you know, Fallout 96 was riddled with everything, with a stupid plethora of like cosmetic or like aesthetic bugs that just, you know, of all this shit. But the things they're listing, it suck. The things they're listing are like, it's putting the game in like almost like into the unplayable category, with, you know, with one, the potential destroying your save, then two, like, oh yeah, oops, quest fucked up.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right, Arthur. And one of the other reasons why this is disappointing too, right, is because, you know, when Cyberpunk 2077 had that big shit, you know, of just, you know, the game's not even being playable on the PlayStation, was the PS4 and the Xbox One,
the quote unquote,
right?
Well, apologies. The quote-unquote current gens.
Yeah, exactly. The quote-unquote current gens. And then just all that stuff that happened. And then what Dying Light 2 was doing kind of like nearly around in between, alongside, maybe in parallel or slightly after, giving updates on their game, you know, saying, hey, we're working on this. This is to come out this time. They had a whole Discord event to invite different people to ask about the game. They had a funny Twitter thing. You know, like I was talking to you about this before, it seemed like they were on top of it, right?
It did. You know, once we found that the game was still going to exist, and they were like, hey, fuckers, we're still making a game. Shut up.
Right.
Which, by the way, again, if you want to have a good laugh, just Google Dying Light Twitter frog. And again, so the reason, just context on that, the reason why people didn't know if this game was going to exist is somebody was still hands-on with their social media page, but would just tweet frog pictures. People would be like, hey, is this game going to exist? Frog.
Right.
which is okay. And so, but yeah, so with how much information we were getting after that huge video, we had at one point during 1 month, we had like bi-weekly or like weekly, like 5-minute video updates on their like YouTube channel, or they would post their social media. We just felt like, cool, this game's gonna be good. And like, you're right, I would feel this arguably like the first major release of the year. I can't think of any big AAA game that came out during January off the top of my head. If there is, I didn't buy it. I'm still playing Game Pass stuff.
Yeah, but
it just sucks that we just finished what I like to call the year of disappointments, and we're starting off on a similar note. Yeah,
you know, and then because I feel like the tide slightly turned when we heard about how, hey, the game's, you know, to complete everything, it's 500 hours or whatever they said.
Sounds like a game.
You know what I mean? And then a lot of people I feel like PTSD kind of came back into play. Yeah. Where a lot of people were just like, I feel like people were worried, and rightfully so. You know what I mean? I feel like people, because first I thought people were just complaining that it was a really long game, but I honestly think people were worried because they didn't want to have the same situation. You know what I mean? And that's like Cyberpunk, because I remember they were talking about how much dialogue is in the game, right? And then Dying Light did the same thing. But part of me is just like, bro, and they even pushed back the game as well, right?
So far, the game got pushed back. I think the game got pushed back twice.
Okay. You know, so it's like, this is what I mean by crunching. We had Church on the show a couple episodes ago. Shout out to Church. And I was talking to him about, as far as some companies, there's a specific term. I didn't say it correctly in that episode, but the specific term is crunch, where, you know, you're pressurizing people to get to a particular date. You know, and then a lot of times after the fact, you know, they end up laying off a bunch of people.
It's like pretty much overworking.
Yeah, exactly. Just in an incredibly, like, super toxic manner. I can't speak to how toxic this particular situation was, but it's very disappointing. It's like, is there any, like, quality assurance that you guys are doing when it comes to these games? Like, how are you guys even testing this? You know, like, how are you guys not catching this? Because, yes, there was a day one patch. I'm not sure exactly what that patch was to supposedly fix, but I think these people had these issues, I mean, alongside after that patch.
So remember, as of now recording this, the game is not out yet. These reviews are early reviews.
Yes.
And supposedly what's happening is the day one patch upon launch is supposedly going to fix a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of in this gray area of waiting.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned, I saw when you posted on, when you posted on this on the Instagram, on the social media, it's like, as much as I was excited for this game, it's like, one, I'm glad I didn't pre-order it, and two, after so much shit last year and this, it's like, are we getting close to? How many more AAA games have to fuck up to where, like, are we just getting close to where pre-ordering is just no longer a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, even betas. Like, look at Battlefield. Battlefield had a beta, and all these problems were reported, and none of them were fixed.
That's right.
So even then, what was the point of the beta? I think just real quick tangent with that with EA and Battlefield, it's almost like they called it a beta, but really they just want to give it a game preview, and and all of a sudden EA realized, oh fuck, they discovered all these bugs. Should we fix them? EA being EA, going, nah. Fucking releasing the game,
and it's online only. There isn't even a campaign. Yeah, it's like you have one job.
Because to a point, again with Battlefield, to a point that almost reassured us it was going to be more polished because they had one thing to focus on.
Exactly.
Because usually when you hear of, like, only one thing, or like something's being removed in terms of time spent on game, that means this was focused on more because the other thing's gone, whether it's multiplayer or single player, and. So again, with everything with last year and now with Dying Light, which again, maybe like for me, I had no feeling, I had no inclination at all that this game would not work would be like this. I would say I say launch with an asterisk, because again, these are the early reviews, day one patch coming launch. But what I'm saying is, I had no indication that Dying Light was going to be in the category of a buggy, unplayable game at launch. No indication.
And I guess that's just us being naive. You know what I mean? Like, you would think that that we wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Right? But unfortunately, it's like now it seems like it's almost like every game. Like, I have to think of, okay, how polished is this game? Like, it's like what we talked about with Church, as far as like day one patches. Like, that's a business model now. That's not even like, oh, like, we're gonna fix this. And
it's everything too, because remember, it's no longer just AAA games. It's fucking remakes. Like, look at Blizzard. Blizzard couldn't remake World of Warcraft 3. They couldn't remake fucking Diablo. And then Rockstar and whatever good developer they handed off the remakes to, they couldn't handle their fucking remakes.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fuck, we can't just AAA games. Okay, well, they're remaking a game. That's probably fucking easy, right? No, like, it's just I'm like, again, unless there's a big like exception or something, or like hard reassurance, like, I don't see myself pre-ordering a game for a while now. I really don't.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Because it was interesting too. Earlier this week, the EA CEO was talking about Battlefield. He's like, I think the game's going to be playable in the future. I'm like, no one's going to play the game in the future, bro.
And remember, Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be a platform for other titles, meaning the other titles after 2042 were all supposed to be spin-offs or extensions of the 2042 franchise. That was supposed to be their thing because remember, like when we had Preston on, they swapped out having classes like assault, support, medic, scout, sniper for specialists. So that and so even that core gameplay changes again. That was supposed to launch a whole new series of Battlefield games. Like that was supposed to again either A, be a spin-off, or B, extensions of the 2042 world.
Yeah,
like that was supposed to be the foundation of their new trilogy, or that was like their new, if not trilogy, but again like new franchise as they called it. And look what fucking happened. Yeah. And the CEO of Battlefield, I think it was quote like the way his quote was just so underhanded, like a fuck you. It was like the game was a mishap, or like it was such an underwhelming fucking understatement of what it really was.
Yeah, huge
like
understatement.
The game was a minor disappointment or something like that. You know what I mean? By the way, really quick, if you hear me clicking or doing shit, I'm on cat fucking maintenance mode because we have wires everywhere, and as far as the cat's concerned, they're all just toys. And if we put the cat in one of the rooms, the doors here weren't built right. They're not all flush, so it's like you would swear there's a hurricane fucking happening in the next room.
Yeah,
it's just the cat. It's the cat trying to break down the door. Yeah, one of them like bit your leg out of nowhere, which has never happened. Yeah. Like it was just you're setting stuff up. Also, know like I don't know the cat just goes, I'm gonna bite. I want to bite Drell's leg.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I really don't like you, bro. I was trying to make amends with you, but now you're just fucking asshole. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, Arthur. I think you're absolutely right. It's really sad to see. I really hope that there's a learning lesson here, and that I just want companies to fucking like let these people finish the game where at least 85-90% of it, we don't have to worry about fucking bugs. Like dude, it's so ridiculous.
We're getting
now.
to the point where back in my day, games used to work at launch.
it's so disheartening. Like it's incredibly disheartening, especially for people that you're forking up this money, and it's not a Game Pass game. It's a game where you're paying full bounty on, full money on.
Some of these games have like Dying Light. It has like $100 fucking additions. Like fuck.
Yeah, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable, and the gaming industry really needs to fucking fix that shit, bro.
Like I remember shitting on Valley. I will still shit on Fallout 76. The criticism that was No Man's Sky at launch, Cyberpunk, but it's like, how many more fucking times does this have to happen to be like, why is this becoming a fucking industry norm where the company is okay with this? Like, let's release this unfinished fucking game and spend the next year to two making it playable. Fuck you. Like I'm not fucking like, I'm not saying I'm not lawsuit. I don't like when there's like lawsuits a million times, but again, how many AAA games or how many times is this gonna fucking happen? Like, and again, cosmetic, like ragdoll physics bugs, that's one thing. In fact, sometimes it's funny. Hell, I'm still okay with the Skyrim space program. Where you get hit by a giant, you're like, to the moon. But to hear it's like, okay, corrupted save data files, quests deleting themselves, quest givers disappearing, quest givers or the person you're supposed to turn that shit into disappearing. These are major,
falling through the floor.
Yeah, these are major problems. It's like that random, like I think it was Kotaku, where it was like, yeah, I didn't play the Cyberpunk side quest because I don't like the cops. And now we got to the point where I wanted to play the side quest, I couldn't.
Yeah, you literally can't. Yeah, man. So moving on here to more unfortunate decisions. We talk about our old school folks from our old school stomping grounds, good old GameStop. And as we know, Arthur, GameStop has been a company that tries many, many things, and Not all of them is necessarily, have made sense, and some of them have failed. And it's interesting how they have this now.
You mean how GameStop has just become Funko Pop the store?
That, and then even the credit card thing,
Oh my God.
Remember they did credit cards, and then I remember talking to one of my former DMs. He was like, we got more debt than the overall turnaround investment. I was like, geez Louise. So there was barely any ROI on that.
Yeah. Is that why they released the movie, the movie about that stock market thing, so they can get profit fucking somewhere?
It's wild, bro, because it's interesting because and we definitely do have to see that.
We owe it to ourselves.
We absolutely do.
We're in the trenches and we got to see it.
Yes, sir. So to continue on here, this is the title of the article. This is from CNET Money. It says here, then, quote, GameStop partners with blockchain startup for its NFT Marketplace. The marketplace is expected to launch later this year. Continuing on, it says GameStop confirmed Thursday that it plans to launch an NFT Marketplace, saying that it's partnered with blockchain startup Immutable X to develop the project. The NFT Marketplace is expected to launch later this year, GameStop said in a release. An NFT, or non-fungible token, is a blockchain-based strategy technology used to determine ownership of unique digital or physical items such as art, music, or even a tweet. NFTs began popping up everywhere in 2021, from the NFL to Twitter to Variety, and have grown increasingly popular in the realm of art collectibles, and some NFTs are going for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. GameStop and Immutable also plan to launch up to a $100 million fund that'll award grants to people after making NFTs for a new marketplace. The fund will use Immutable's cryptocurrency IMX. GameStop said people from, in quote, gaming studios, Web 3.0, and metaverse gaming developers and elsewhere, in quote, can request to be creators in the company's NFT marketplace. Some video game companies have started looking into integrating NFTs into games. Ubisoft in December introduced NFT weapons and gear to the squad shooter Ghost Recon Breakpoint. But gamers are wary of new methods of monetizing video games, and there are environmental concerns surrounding the technology, end quote. Rightfully so, obviously. And
fucking GameStop. Like,
I just feel like GameStop is like, it's just like, I mean, we can talk about this forever, but GameStop, I feel like it's ran by people that don't understand.
No, GameStop isn't GameStop. GameStop is retail stop. Like,
exactly.
It's really not. Like, I mean, you speak to someone that's worked there long enough and stuff like that. It's not ran by people that know games, not ran by people that know the industry. It's by people that's just, it's a business, and that's how they treated it. Yeah. And it shows.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is they treat it like a business only instead of like addressing games, and it's when clearly the entire market had a huge shift to digital. They're like, trade your games.
Yeah, man.
It's like, and then they're like, okay, what else can we do? We have Tetris lamps. It's easy to sit on it, but again, it's this company, GameStop. It just, as a retailer, it has been circling the drain for a long time. And on the business end of thing, they have a massive problem with turnover. It's like every year, GameStop's always like top 10 worst companies to work for, like right there with EA and fucking Walmart. They have more problems than one with their business model, both on the front and back end for both its employees and its customers. And I just feel like this is just another grab to just like try to stay relevant, try to do something that's making money. Right. People are buying green monkeys with red hats for $20,000. We can do something.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, bro. They're always trying to sink above, try to swim above water, keep their head above water, and I guess I appreciate the attempt to a degree, but I just feel like they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they lost the credit card thing, and they barely knew what they were doing then, and they got a bunch of debt. I just feel like they really are over their heads on this.
I've never heard of a company in debt because of its own credit card.
Because people weren't paying anything off. Like, it was just like people were just like getting approved, paying for their stuff, and they would just throw away the receipt. They wouldn't even log in. They wouldn't even create their account, and just like, people would be fine with this debt. Like, that was a lot of customers.
They can't collect all of us.
Exactly, bro. Like, it was a really bad idea.
Yeah, same thing like you, man. Of course, we have mutual friends still in the industry, still there, and it's like they were just like highly concerned about the credit card thing. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
hey, other cap, but. Again, too, because like they're saying like, oh, they're following Ubisoft like this. This is like the margin. It's not the majority. The majority of the industry and the gamers do not want NFTs. And just because they're saying Ubisoft did it, well, that's not a fucking source. That's like saying, why are we doing this? EA did it. Not a fucking credible source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because if they're testing, if they're doing this based off of other people that have done it, like it's very apples and oranges. Like Ubisoft is not a retail company. You know?
Even then it's not like, well, this is time tested. That shit was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we read here, gamers are like, no, like you guys always want to monetize some shit, and then now that games barely work nowadays, and you want to continue to monetize and do this NFT nonsense, like this is like, it's out of control. So
I won't go into soapbox because I've always mentioned it, but it's like, I'm telling you, man, I think the industry is going to rebound on a large scale towards indie.
Yeah, definitely seems that way.
No NFTs, working games at launch, not full priced, and then it's handled by people that, because the quote they're their own boss, arguably, for not all these situations, but it's like you get working games. And like I said again, I still want soapbox. Just again, my example, PUBG, man. The maker of PUBG is now making a fucking plant-sized fucking game.
Yeah, so, I'm curious to see when that comes out. Definitely,
I'm curious to see when that comes out, and I'm curious to see what the successor to other indie games are going to be, because that happens a lot. People make one game to kind of just get themselves out there. It's kind of like their resume. It's like making their first game is kind of like their resume to get out there, and after that, they make the true passion. They make their passion project, which are those are usually the big industry changers.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of industry changing, Sony definitely threw a draw 4 down. In the gaming industry. And what I mean by that is the title of this article here from Polygon.com, saying that Sony acquiring Bungie, creators of Destiny, in a $3.6 billion deal. Says that Destiny 2 will remain multi-platform, Bungie says. So a very exciting situation here. I remember this happened earlier this week, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and it was and the internet went collective, or in my case, whoopity-doo.
Yeah.
No one cares. like the breaking news: Sony buys Bungie, or as we like to call it, Sony bought Destiny. Okay, Sony bought Destiny for $3.6 billion, and then came all like. They paid X percentage over market cap, meaning, which is fancy word for they fucking overpaid.
Yeah, and this is even more kind of complex than, it's actually an even more different deal than, say, like Microsoft buying Bethesda, obviously, besides like the cost of it, but the specific deal in general. And I want to read this article because it does give a good light to what that means. It says here in quotes, Sony is buying Bungie, developer of Destiny 2 and the studio that originally created Halo, in a deal worth of $3.6 billion, Sony Interactive Entertainment announced on Monday. Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio. Destiny 2 is available on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox platforms with the option of self-publishing its games. To self-publish its games. The studio will, in quote, remain independent and multi-platform. Will enjoy creative freedom, and their track record of developing massively successful franchises in the sci-fi shooter genre will be highly complementary to Sony Interactive Entertainment's own IP portfolio, says President Jim Ryan, explained in a statement. Says here, we will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games. Pete Parsons, CEO and chairman of Bungie, said in a statement, we will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Our games will continue to be where our community is, wherever they choose to play. It says Sony addressed concerns for Destiny 2 players based in the FAQ for the new deal, promising that nothing will change about the game's availability on existing platforms. In a graphic outlining Bungie and PlayStation's shared vision, Bungie said, So Destiny 2 will stay on all current platforms and expand to new platforms. Bungie maintains full creative control and publishing independence of the Destiny universe, and says same game everywhere. Every player will have an amazing Destiny experience no matter where you choose to play. End quote. So
now Destiny's gonna come out on the Switch, like, because they said Destiny's being released to new platforms. What else isn't it out for? Linux?
I mean, I think, yeah, I know it's kind of a hazy statement there.
That's a statement of Jim Ryan didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
see, my thing is that this is my confusion. You do you make a purchase of a studio, right?
Yeah.
But within the confines of the contract, they say, hey, we want to be independent. The games aren't going to be just exclusive. We're going to make games for everybody. So why even fucking purchase them?
For 3.6 billion.
So like, it's because I know I read something that said, I think I want to say around 2024, that they're supposed to have some type of additional IP,
like a new game.
Yeah. And I think that's where the purchase comes in. So I think for whatever they're doing right now, nothing is really going to change, which is fine. You know what I mean? But I feel like they overpaid to a large degree.
Oh my God, yes.
You know what I mean?
You know, they paid, for context, about how much? What was the decimal?
I want to say it's 3.6.
They paid, if my math is correct, $700,000 less than what Disney paid for Star Wars, and they paid for roughly about half as much as Xbox paid for Bethesda. Still fucking overpaid to own Destiny and one future IP. I know that there's gonna be more, potentially more IPs, but I mean, like, look at Bethesda's roster and look at like Bungie now. If this was like X years ago, oh shit, they bought Halo, but it's 2022 and they fucking didn't.
Yeah, like, and they're not nearly going to get the return on investment, obviously, as like a Star Wars purchase. You know what I mean? But to put those numbers into perspective, I'm glad you did. It's like, was this really a good decision? You know what I mean? So,
because I mean, not to sound wrong, me and my friend were talking, and it's like Sony, to a point, Sony, on a large scale, or at least compared to Microsoft, has a lot of like Japanese roots and Japanese, developers and publishers. So we thought, we mentioned on the show with Church here, we thought they were going to like look towards Square Enix, Capcom,
right,
possibly From Software, the
Warner Brothers.
The Dark Souls series has a long history with early on PlayStation exclusivity.
Yeah.
The new the Demon Souls remake, PlayStation exclusive, and then all of a sudden it's like Bungie. And everyone's like, okay. I think the best example was the Austin Powers of like, Sony's like, look who I got. I don't care. Shoot the fucker. Like, I don't care. Buy the fucker. Like, I don't care.
Shoot the bastard.
Yeah. As Austin Powers holds Scott Evil hostage and Dr. Evil. I don't care. Shoot the bastard. Like, that's just the best description of both how Microsoft and collect, from what I've heard, I've seen, at least with my friends, both Xbox and Sony customers. Like, okay.
Exactly. And then for this next article here, this might shed light on the reasoning for the deal, but I feel like its reasoning definitely isn't focused the way that it should be focused. And speaking of the franchise of Bungie being purchased, seems like Sony wants to turn some of this stuff into video games as well, or movies as well. And according to IGN article, it says here in the title of the article, Sony wants to help Bungie turn its franchise into movies. Written by Joe Screbbles, it seems like it's pronounced. But it says here, quote, Sony says that Bungie wants to turn its games into multimedia franchises, and the PlayStation creator says that it could help the developer make movies. It says here that a lot has been made of how much Bungie will offer Sony after a $3.6 billion acquisition was announced this week. However, speaking during an earnings call Q&A, Sony CFO Hiroki Tokoki was asked what benefits Bungie itself saw in being acquired by Sony. Tokoki's answer covered areas such as hiring and employee retention, but moved into Sony's position as a multimedia company. It's not far for the gaming arena, but the multi-using of IP, merchandising of IP, like a game title, maybe put into movies. It says here, Bungie want to nurture the IP, but have a multi-dimensional manner. And that's their hope. For that, we believe that we can help, that we have Sony Pictures, Sony Music, and Bungie can leverage our platform so that their IP can flourish and grow big, end quote. So
that's what the gamers want.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, this is such a bad idea. If that's what they feel like can make up this, that can really make this return on investment. I just don't see it. I don't see it really being a smart idea.
And the billions, no. If you're telling me Sony bought Bungie for like $800 million, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But 3.6 billion. Hey, if you need help if you need advice on paying your debt, don't ask GameStop. And then and again, a key phrase to show where the focus or lack thereof is. Now, I will say this exact quote was from the Bungie side, not from the Sony side, I believe. Merchandising IP. It's like that focus is not what your clientele is.
Yeah.
And if your focus is not what your baseline is, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest fucking problem for Sony for like the last arguably 3 to 4 years. Now I know you can say like they've had good hits like Ratchet and Clank, like God of War, yes, but that's like literally a handful. You can count with one fucking hand over the last half decade. As we know, the gaming industry works arguably like in that time frame. Like we said, like think of like the Olympics. Like every Olympics, you expect like a new game or something like that every 4 years. That's like loosely the time frame of a game. And that's been Sony's problem. Is they're not focusing on what they're not focusing on the needs or wants of their baseline clientele.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then it's like I wonder if like I really want to know how the stockholder meetings go, because are stockholders even happy? Because Sony's I think what they said, Sony's what the fuck the word? I just said the word stock took another dip, not as major as the dip they took after Microsoft.
Yeah,
what was that, like a $200 million hit?
Oh yeah,
it
was like what was it, like 20? No, I think it was 200 million. Something crazy like that.
After Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, Sony stock took a big fucking hit, and then it took another, like, not a huge hit, but like a hit like not too long ago, like within this week.
Yeah.
And which is not what you want to have happen after a fucking acquisition. That is not what you want to.
It's like, wait, this is it's supposed to happen?
It's evolving, just backwards. So again, it's like, it's like if like gamers and your major clientele want X, Y, and Z, I just want to know what stockholders are saying, or what stockholders are asking for in these meetings, because it's like, what else, like who's, it's like who, like what need or who are they trying to impress, or like who's driving the ship?
Yeah.
It's like, if Jim Ryan's driving the ship, cool. Who's he driving the ship for?
Right.
That's what I want to know. Like, we know, like, right. Again, it's like who or what motivation is truly behind the wheel at Sony? Because I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair, bro. That's really fair. Because, like, I know in general, like, I know the PlayStation 5, it's outsold. I want to say it's outsold, like, the Wii U or some shit.
What they fucking do?
And there is some random analyst that was saying that they're going to sell more. And they're going to outsell the Xbox for this year as well. But, I mean, how credible is that? We have no idea.
And again, the Xbox, it's like, oh no, they sold more than us. Hey, everyone, do you have a phone, tablet, computer, fucking mobile device? xCloud. You know what I mean? That's again, and to hear like breaking news, PS5 sells more than Wii U. God damn, they're just trying to like they're just grasping at straws for like good news. We sold more than fucking Wii Sports.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. It's just there's a lot of really weird business decisions that are being made here. So We'll see what happens. One of the business decisions that it seems like they're still pretty consistent on is, the state of play. We watched that today, and the main state of play was the Gran Turismo one. Focus on Gran Turismo. And it seems like it's going to be a pretty promising game, most definitely. I know we both watched that. Some of the big takeaways for me on that, it just seems like they're really giving Polyphony the time and space needed to make the game the way that it is, which is great. It's super freaking detailed. I just hope that the game comes out with no, very minimal bugs, if any.
Yeah.
That's kind of my big thing, because this is a fucking solid IP.
It looks good. Now, I will say racing games always have a. I feel like racing games are usually consistently up there when it comes to graphics and aesthetics.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Forza did the whole thing of like, look at this car. And I'm like, wow, that's a really nice photo. And it's like, surprise, that's in-game graphics. I was like, holy shit. And they fooled me. And, so I'm watching the Gran Turismo thing, and it looks gorgeous. And it made me think of, not to denote it, but just for context, it's like, remember there was that quick article of somebody said how, like, for a game developer did an interview where, like, how fucking nerve-wracking it is to put a door in a game.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm thinking about it. It's like, if you're to really, really break it down, and I'm sure developers losing their mind about this, but it's like, if you're to break it down, like aesthetically speaking, it's like a shiny metal surface reflecting light versus flesh versus skin, freckles, skin tone, hair, fur, stuff like that. But again, I'm not denouncing the game or that or Forza, like why those, but it just me thinking of why racing games, at least nowadays, are usually on the cusp of really good fucking graphics.
Yeah.
And Gran Turismo, I feel like from what I saw, they listen to players. So there's a lot of classic modes there. There's a lot of classic maps, a lot of classic soundtracks. And I mentioned this when we first saw it, how there's a huge selection of cars, like classic cars. Dude, they have the classic World War II fucking Jeep.
Oh, nice.
Like
wow.
literally the olive green army Jeep. That's fucking cool.
That's pretty sweet.
And one thing I think that's really cool about Gran Turismo, when I saw, is that day and night cycle. Like, there's so much involved. When I mean day and night, they said the constellations are going to be accurate. Rainfall is a massive thing, so meaning that rain will dry on certain parts of the track faster than other parts. There's gonna be a climate rain cloud tracker. There's a ton of stuff. So like as I said there before, when we were talking about Forza, when that came out, for me there's three categories of like racing games: the ultra realistic, balls to the wall, whatever the fuck, and the middle. And I always say Gran Turismo's always has been the king of the ultra realistic, and Forza's in the middle, where there's realistic, but you can rewind time like 10 seconds. And then whereas like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, where you can argue, it's kind of realistic, but then at the same time there's helicopters trying to fucking bomb you. So not really, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like, where like, your tracks are like Atlantis.
Right.
And so again, knowing that Gran Turismo was the old school king of the realistic racing, they're turning fucking hard into that swerve. Again, consolations to say, because this part of the track will be driven on no more, the water from the rain's gonna dry there faster than the outside edge. And I'm like, god damn.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well said, man. Well said, definitely. So we'll see what happens here in the future. I know one of the things too in the state of play, which we weren't really informed about too much, because Sony didn't really inform anybody. I found it through Gematsu, but I forgot about it, and then you reminded me. I was like, oh shit, There
was a second state of play.
There was a second state of play, and it was to do with Ghostwire.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. I know they showed a snippet of it during one of their wasn't a conference, but it was like a plethora of videos.
They're not E3 thing.
Yeah, they're not E3 thing. So they showed a little bit of information and gave a little bit more of a detail on the story and everything.
Yeah.
It seems interesting. I do like that it doubles down on the Japanese voice acting with English subtitles. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
I always stand by that versus, the other way around, or trying to do English, for like the Japanese
sometimes
language.
With any language translation, the context, the emotion, a portion is just lost. It is how it is. Vice versa, English an English written thing to a translated thing, vice versa, Japanese written thing to an English thing. And from the state of play we got today, like I said, this is like this is like real. Like they wanted to really focus on like Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Like Tokyo is more like they said. Like the way they said it is like Tokyo's is more than just a setting in the game. They really want to show people like the real Tokyo, not like the two main streets that's been in every fucking movie. it's like when people film in LA, there's like that one bridge, the Griffith Observatory, that one hill that's in GTA that's by Santa Monica, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's and you mentioned something like I wonder if they'll do it because Sony is now putting a focus on this. You said this could make for a really good VR game.
Yeah, because they already announced the VR2.
Yep.
And technically, this is going to be the most powerful VR out once it releases. At least according to the numbers at the moment.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful VR, and because of how the game is, this would be an absolute. An amazing game, I think, opportunity for it, in fact, to be a VR game. I really feel like they need to think about that because I feel like you would have a decent... I mean, obviously, it may not be as much as everyone else buying the game, but I think it definitely should be an option just because of how the game, maneuvers. The sound already sounds really good as far as like the special effects and stuff and the powers that you have and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would be excited for that if they decide to do that.
You're not wrong, because when you mentioned it, I'm like, the second you said, I'm like, wow, that totally worked, because I called it like a hyper first person.
Yeah.
Like you never see the character from like elbow down.
Right.
In terms of perspective, it's like the same perspective of like that Techland and the other one that does the Dying Light, Dead Island.
Right.
Like that hyper first person. And I joked that perspective is sometimes like to hide the wonky mechanics if you're to show the actual full body.
Right.
Game, something that Dying Light and Techland is known for. When you see the full body animations, like, ooh, that everything elbow down does not look great.
Yeah, it's like wonky.
Yeah, but it's like this game is like it's like Paranormal Avatar, The Last Airbender, not the blue native people, in the sense that your powers are elemental based: fire, earth, wind, water. Sorry, Captain Planet. No heart. And then. It's not. They say it's not so much like a horror; it's paranormal, which from what we've seen is an accurate description. I'm not saying there's jump scares. It's just from the gameplay that we've seen, I think it is accurate to not advertise it as a horror game because it might feel misleading. But
Right.
the paranormal is accurate.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it, and for a bigger picture, I think it's really smart of Sony to double down with two state of plays this back to back. Again, following the Xbox acquisition, following the lackluster response of PlayStation buying Bungie, so I think it was smart of them to just double down on what they have on what they're working on now, aka Gran Turismo and Tokyo Ghostwire Tokyo, something like that.
Yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo, thank you. And I don't have a Sony console right now. But like if I did, watching this made me more excited for Ghostwire than I was previously.
Yeah.
And I think it was a smart move for them again to just double down on what they have coming in now. Because like we mentioned when the church was here, a lot of people said, "Oh, Sony's dead," after Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard, and I'm like, if you're to say that during any other year, maybe, but this year, no. They got, again, Gran Turismo, Elden Ring's going to be cross-platform, and like we said, there's a huge Dark Souls community in PlayStation because a lot of their original IPs were exclusive, including the remake. We have arguably, I think the biggest one that Sony's looking for this year, God of War.
Yeah, God of War, a huge title, absolutely. Sifu this month as well.
Sifu, there you go. Sifu, another one again, another exclusive. So I think we're going to see a lot of good big, or if not big, but at least like I think we saw Gran Turismo, good state of plays in the near future, which is a good call.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. Definitely. And the last thing on the docket for today is speaking of games that you own or games that are owned by these companies, and obviously the recent Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard. It appears to have caught wind by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And according to Windows Central here, this article discusses about it. It says here, quote, the title saying that FTC will review Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, says reports. Says the FTC has generally been more aggressive with blocking deals than the Justice Department, but we'll have to wait and see if that's the case with Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard.
Wow, that's an accurate statement.
And I was joking with you, Arthur, that I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby Kotick was the whistleblower on this one.
Oh yeah, he's like, motherfucker's trying to fire me. Fucking becomes a rat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what did he realize that he's not going to get his $200 million bonus or severance?
I want to put it past that fucking asshole.
Yeah, seriously. So let me read a little bit of this here. It says, in quote, the Federal Trade Commission will review Microsoft's proposed purchase of Activision Blizzard. According to a report by Bloomberg, Microsoft announced plans to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion last month. As is the case of any deal, the size and nature of the acquisition will have to go through a legal process to determine if it violates antitrust legislation. In this case, the FTC will review the purchase rather than the U.S. Justice Department, according to a source that spoke with Bloomberg. Source as in Bobby Kotick. Both the FTC and the Justice Department are responsible for reviewing antitrust cases. The two agencies frequently work together to decide which one should investigate specific deals. It says the FTC has expressed that it will be more aggressive regarding large mergers and acquisitions, though it doesn't indicate any way that the commission will lean regarding Microsoft's planned purchase of Activision Blizzard. It says that the FTC sued to stop NVIDIA's purchase of ARM and Lockheed Martin's proposed purchase of the Aerojet Rocketdyne Holdings. The FTC has not responded to media requests or comment at the time of publication. Microsoft declined to comment to Bloomberg on the review of its planned acquisition of Activision Blizzard, end quote. This is interesting. And strangely, like, ironic at the same time.
Dude, if people are like clapping at this, I'm like, yeah, boo monopolies. Where the fuck have you been? like, just Google American car. Google anything made in this fucking country. Like, I'm serious. Like, of all the American car industry, a handful of makers own like every fucking car manufacturer in the country. Like we mentioned before when this happened, because we were talking about church, like, how is this, is this legal, or are there going to be ramifications? Now I was talking about the food and beverage, or like food and snack industry. Like, flip a coin. It's like, flip a coin. If that beverage is like manufactured to a large scale, it's Coke, Pepsi, or Nestle. And even if it's not branded that way, it's like, oh, naked drinks are healthy and stuff. That's fucking Coke.
Yeah. And that's a lie. They're not healthy at all. But
oh God, no.
That's what they tell us. They're like, oh, drink them. It's like, no, you'll die.
It's like, formaldehyde's okay. I remember that. That's why they no longer say organic.
Yeah.
Or no preservatives. They say no preservatives. Because they have organic formaldehyde now. Gatorade, Pepsi, Powerade, Coke. And they say, well, what about like media and tech companies? Well, fucking look at Disney. Like,
yeah.
I think what Disney bought Marvel, that's one thing. When Disney bought fucking 20th Century Fox, that's big.
That's huge.
That's fucking huge, man.
Yeah.
And the government's like, we don't care.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, like, what's happening with the video games?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Arthur. I feel like there's definitely a pick and choose situation of various circumstances. I feel like the FTC and Justice Department don't really care about monopolies.
No, they just care who pays them more.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you can pay me under the table this much every quarter to keep me from knocking on your door.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Disney just bought what now? Oh, look, honey, a package came. What's it full of? Cash. It's like, from your friend MM. Haha.
Yeah, man.
I wonder who that's from.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I feel like it's fine. I feel like also that Microsoft really positioned themselves where it's like, hey, we're not going to cut off everything. We still want to make sure that PlayStation, we have a value relationship with them. I feel like Phil Spencer definitely handled that call and just handled the publicity of everything very very well. And I think it's going to be fine. I don't think there would be an issue with it. But I mean, let's just be real, man. I mean, every computer, almost every other house has a Microsoft thing in it. whether it's hardware or software.
Software, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is like remember, this is a $1 trillion company. This is like the top 3 most wealthy companies on the planet.
Yeah.
So it's like. It's just one of those things, man. But as far as for this, I don't think this imposed to be any type of danger in the gaming community as well.
No.
Microsoft always has, at least they have a very powerful track record of having good intentions, and then most importantly, it's funny, I was talking to my brother about this acquisition, and he was like, those games are really old as far as like them owning them. And I said, yes. I said, however, it would be nice to revive a lot of this, because I feel like when it comes to gamers, there's nothing better than reviving a game that we haven't heard from in a while and then doing it really well.
That works, because Blizzard is not fucking capable of that. Like I said, Diablo and Warcraft, the 2 games that built their fucking foundation of a company. Hey, let's remake them. Working? I said let's make them.
Right.
And it's interesting. Like someone was saying, isn't it interesting how quick the FTC jumped on this acquisition, but yet it's like how many like labor boards and any form of justice system acted on the Blizzard Activision fucking years worth of like documented sexual harassment cases.
Like 10 years or something, right?
Yeah, it's like 10 years from like reports to fucking something now happening, and it's like less than a month goes by. Whoa. What's happening? We need to act on this. It's like, fuck you.
Exactly. People want to help when, fucking values them.
Justice Department, Cosby, what's sweet? And let Twitter, let the court of Twitter worry about it. They'll get canceled.
Exactly.
It's like, you know what's funny? Because you're saying, what if Bobby's a whistleblower?
Yeah.
What if it's Jim Ryan?
That'd be hilarious.
Jim Ryan's a fucking rat.
Yeah, man.
Because I wonder if the FTC or the Justice Department even fucking knew about this. Because like we said, as we've seen, when the government gets involved, these tech companies at all, it just becomes like
they're always the last people to know. They're like, what's happening?
Like they're the last people to know. They don't know what this is. It's like, is a toaster an Xbox? I don't fucking know. Like. Fucking like again, Google fucking like Mark Zuckerberg took to stand. Uber Eats knows where I live. That's not Facebook. Yeah, it's your fucking fault invading my privacy. It's like so that's why I thought it was weird that the FTC got involved at all. I'm like, again, somebody had to fucking shoot an email or fucking text over with a couple of dollar signs question mark involved in that communication.
Yeah.
Because there's no way anyone truly involved in Justice Department knows what the fuck an Activision Blizzard is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like a Blizzard. Oh, that's climate change.
Yeah.
So again, that's how I'm like, this is bullshit. It's, it's just weird if we're quote unquote the focus of the Justice Department or the FTC is on shit like this.
I agree.
I will say this though. I joke about it because it saddens me, but yet entertains me. When these things just become like a tech support meeting, so I would again it would make me sad, but also make me laugh. For like if this there's like a like someone has to like go not court but like you give a testimony and it's like it just becomes a tech support of like what an Xbox is. you know what I mean? Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. So we know there's freedom of religion and you have a game called Diablo. So are you guys like Satanists? What is it? You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
I just want a reading of somebody high up in government clearly not knowing what the fuck is going on at all.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, bro.
So StarCraft, but but Space Force didn't exist until like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? I just want some stupid fucking quote to come from that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens there. But that is going to wrap it up here today for the Gamers for Life podcast. Again, each and every Saturday, discussing all things games. One of your hosts, Jarrell, with me is my co-host, Arthur Thomas.
That's me. I'm going to invest in a kennel for these fucking cats.
Right on. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching and or listening. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.